chased away the gremlins and ready to get the show on the road. So, Gary, I guess you were kind of up with what our next photo walks are.
Yes, I think I'm up next, so, okay. So I'll start and say, I'm wired up, I think, so.
Yeah, but you're about to drag the mic off.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to walk around. So we have a lot of photo walks coming up. I wanted to give you guys a list of these. Just a heads up. But first, most immediate concern is Saturday morning, which we have set up some stuff for Sherwood Forest Fair, and Vince is going to talk about that because he's your coordinator that day.
So this coming Saturday, Sherwood Forest Fair, we're going to have a photo walk thing, meet before you get into the front gate. I'll be hanging out there in sort of the area in front of the front gate. Here's what you're looking for, you know, garb, hat, meet there around 10:15. We've got 8 tickets, so the first 8 people who show up, you've got free entrance. And then otherwise you're kind of on your own for entrance tickets to get inside. And then it's like we've got a few times during the day when we'll try and sync back together, one of which is after the 11:30 Birds of Prey show, because we've got an inside contact on the Birds of Prey. He might be able to bring out a couple of birds after they disperse out from that show. And then basically it's like times to get in sync, because once you get in there, there's a lot of stuff, and you know, herding photographers. No, we're not herding photographers. You're going to hit whatever you want, and then there's times when you can kind of regroup and say, "Did you find anything cool to get? You know, what'd you get?" That sort of thing. And you don't have to stay the entire day. You can leave whenever and all that stuff. Basically, the big deal: bring good shoes, preferably with some ankle support. It's rough terrain, and it's got a hill that you'll be going up and downhill a lot during the day to different stages and stuff like that. So bring good shoes, bring your camera, and if you have an on-camera flash, that's useful to be able to do fill flash on there. And if you're afraid of photographing people, it's a good opportunity to photograph people because they're in garb. They want to be photographed because they like to get photographs of themselves in garb. This is a nice, easy way to get into comfortable with that. Anyway.
Absolutely.
How many have been to a Ren Fair before? Good crowd.
I know what to expect.
How many haven't?
Costumes? Is that what you said, Clay?
No.
Hasn't been there.
Oh,
Sounds great.
Patrick, I think you're up next for.
No, I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not done.
Okay, so I just want to go over this again real quick. We're going to do a photo walk on Sunday morning. That's the next thing. So hopefully, if you want to get out, you come join us. It'll be a little chilly, I think, but still fun. Just walking up and down, looking at the ducks in the water. Okay, just to get out, and then we'll go eat. Be cool. Hill Country Water Gardens. We've got Zilker Botanical Garden coming up. You're going to see an announcement soon for Georgetown Wildflowers on the 12th of April, and we're planning a road trip to San Saba. Okay. Also looking at trying to do a couple more. I'd like to maybe go hit Salado in June before it gets too terribly hot. So a couple more things in the works. So keep an eye out for those. Put them on your calendar, and we hope we can see you there. Okay.
Patrick.
Okay. Ooh, that's hot. Okay. So for the presentations, we have, and I'm overpowering everything and we're getting feedback. So, okay, so on March 20th, we've got our own Stephen Burkich. He's going to be doing astrophotography for us. He's going to make a presentation on that and give us all of his trade secrets on everything on how he does that. And we'll all be millionaires. So if you believe that, but he will be here. He promises me. So April 17th, we have an artist, Jane Hogan, and I've asked her to just present on composition. She is not a photographer, she is a media type of artist. So she paints and draws. So this will be a different aspect, a different take on composition perhaps. May 15th is either myself talking about panorama photography, if you wish, or if I can find someone to fill in and do something else, or if you guys have got an idea for May 15th, I would appreciate it, because that would be great, because you get to hear me otherwise, you know. And then on June 19th, we have the traveling trio, that is to say, Bill, Mark, and our own Gary, all talking about their trip it was in January, and it was a winter workshop in Japan. So that's what we're working on for that one. And I just got a note, I contacted Josh Baker and asked him if he would present on July 17th. It's very, very tentative at this moment, but he would be doing a presentation on light painting, or painting with light. And if we were able to get him for that, leadership has agreed that we would most likely move the venue up the street, I guess it is from here, to the Round Rock Studio, where we can have total darkness, and then the light painting makes a lot of sense at that point. So that is what I have.
Thank you, sir. Cody, I think it's your show
Ready?
now.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's go for it. All right, so we've got basic to start with. So the theme is water in all its forms. So we'll do a scan and then we'll go from there. So, all right, let's see, that should work. So the first one is practice. There we go. Practice, 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 no matter the weather. Bath time. We walked. 2023-0709, Shoshone Falls, Idaho. Habitat for waterfowl. The Wanderer's Arrival. Live fire training. And waterfall in triplicate. All right. Judges, selections, critiques. All right. Oh, is that not the right one? Let's see. Is it just critique, Ed? Okay.
Judges without critique.
Let's try that one. There we go. All right.
There
Okay.
we go. Okay, that one's mine. Practice, practice. Okay, it's practice, practice, okay. I think this is a great shot of the team practicing regardless of the weather conditions. It's a fantastic shot. Getting the point across of they are out there trying to play some kind of, I'm assuming it's baseball. But excellent treatment with the fog in the night sky. I think it's maintaining the feel of the fog with the field lights blasting in the background. The only suggestion would be when I saw it on my screen, and I'm sitting at a really strange angle now, is to level literally level the playing field. Really, come on. So that was about it. There were some other suggestions by my fellow judges, maybe finding a way to crop out the net on the left-hand side, which may have precluded or facilitated actually cropping out the big white light up in the sky to the left. The maker might want to just try playing around with it, just see how the crops come out if you were to do things like that. But we thought it was, in general, a very nice image.
Okay. Next is bath time.
Okay, this one's fine. So this one actually precipitated a lot of discussion. The biggest problem with this is that it doesn't seem particularly intentional. It does come across as a bit of a snapshot, and that is somewhat reinforced by a lack of clear focus point. I think the plane of focus is actually in front of the beak on the duck. From a theme perspective, it's not clear the suds go to water. It's more of a soap in all its forms thing. So I'm not sure about the theme. The duck's cute, I'm not arguing that. And I get the bath time idea. What I would like is, from a portraiture perspective, I'd like the duck looking at the camera. So I think a little bit more work in working the scene would have been helpful. I also would like to suggest that the white balance of the image be addressed, because it's all yellow, and I don't think the suds are supposed to be yellow.
Okay. Next is We Walked.
Not sure how the title relates to the image, but other than that, it presents an interesting idea with the grass and the water. At first I wasn't sure how much I liked it, but after going back and forth several times, I concluded that this image had a lot of merit. It definitely qualifies with the water theme. I like how the blues and browns interact and complement each other. The composition is interesting, but I can see several ways to enhance what is there. One is to eliminate the white pointy piece on the left, and this piece keeps pulling my eye back to it because of the brightness. Just coloring it might be a good idea, or to crop out that side of the picture. And I encourage the maker to go back and play with it some more, because I think it has a lot of potential.
Okay. Let's see. Shoshone Falls, Idaho.
Yeah. Never having been there before. It's a lovely picture of the falls. All the technical aspects are pretty nice. On the computer, the exposure was much better. From over here, I'm seeing that everything is blown out, which that was not the case when I was looking at it on my system. So we thought that was well done, getting the fact that the flow of the water is there, the shutter speed, all those types of things. The maker did a very nice job. A couple of things that I noticed at first, though, is I'm not sure if the dam that's holding water back, that's kind of creating a lake back there, I can't imagine that the dam is actually high on one side and low on the other. So I'm not sure if when the person leveled this, they leveled it according to the rocks or the mesa above it, but not to the water itself. It's an optical illusion, one of the two. The other is taking a bit of a tighter crop on this and eliminating the houses. I know that they're there, you can't do much about them, but eliminating those houses, bring it all the way down, bring the top of the image down so that we're just looking at the falls, a little bit of the background of the lake and the lake itself. Those were the biggest things that I saw on that. And the three of us we talked about this pretty much extensively. It was suggested that the rainbow down in the lower right-hand corner, it's there. Would there have been a possibility or another image where that rainbow became more of the photograph than the falls themselves? Because rainbows are always fun to have in pictures. They're hard to capture sometimes, especially bright sunny day like that one. So yeah, that's basically where we're at on that one. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Habitat for waterfowl.
So I'm pretty unclear as to, in this image, what the maker wanted me to look at. I understand what a habitat is, of course, and I've been to a few of them, but I'm not sure what here was of interest. I think the color is great. The color of this kind of water in Texas is pretty much spot on, and I don't say that in a complimentary way, but it is Texas. The feet of the ducks are great. I love all the orange spots, brightness here and there. But for me, I don't see enough ducks for texture with the ducks, and they're randomly scattered about. And I don't know where I'm looking, but I'm certainly looking along the edge, the bottom, and the upper right corner, not in the center. So it's not obvious to me what the maker wanted to draw my attention to. The interesting things are in the corners, and I don't think that's what they had in mind. So I would encourage anyone when presented with a scene like this to think about what is it that I'm attracted to, what am I looking at, and if I'm going to create a picture, what is it that I want my viewer to focus on, and then work the composition in the camera at the scene as well as some work in post-processing to help draw the eye to what they feel are the interesting areas of the image.
Okay. The
Wanderer's Arrival. This image received a lot of discussion from the judges. It was concluded that this was more of an artistic expression. This was due in part to the water on the window being mostly in focus, and the remainder of the image is out of focus, therefore drawing your attention to the water drops and then wandering out to the tree and the wanderer. And it turned out that it was pretty well unanimous that the biggest issue was the shovel or the pole or whatever's in the bottom right. It's really distracting, and it kind of takes away from the picture.
Okay. Live fire training.
Okay. As having a firefighter in my extended family, I think this is a wonderful shot. The use of the high shutter speed, it's amazing. With that, I think it was 1/1600th of a second, I think, something like that. It was really high. You can see not only the spray, but you can see the oscillation of the pump that was pumping it, because there are layers of the spray going up and out. It's very, very interesting. Excellent color. The only thing that was brought up through our discussions, and I kind of understand maybe why the photographer got only this picture, would it have been possible to move around slightly to either side, specifically to the left, and get a little bit of the face and or the nozzle. And I know during fire training that photographers are the last people that were thought of, so I understand if that's not a possibility in this image. But if you had the chance, that might have made it even a more powerful image. So congratulations.
Okay. Waterfall and triplicate.
So this is, I think, a well-composed image. I think that the three portions of the falls, the upper, the middle, and the lower, work very well together. For me, the sky is superfluous. I don't really understand the point of it including it, so this is a 2:3 ratio. I would suggest something shorter, 5:7, 8:10, and eliminate the sky. I don't know whether the color of the foliage was a choice by the photographer or if this is a JPEG out of camera, but the green is overwhelming for my eye, and I think it attracts the eye and detracts from the waterfall, which I believe is what the maker wants us to look at. So I would encourage the maker to do some work in post with things like the greens in the foliage. A, make them more yellow. B, bring them down, darken them so that they are less bold and less attractive to the eye. The water shutter speed's fantastic. A little bit of texture and some movement I think is quite lovely. I would encourage the maker to consider the rocks, adding some vibrance and some detail to the rocks, and keeping the eye on the water and the rocks rather than that foliage because of the bright color. But overall, I think a well-seen composition.
Great, that's it. So now we'll go to judge's choice.
And here we go.
Right, so we got 3 awards. See, so third place is Clay Lieben.
Speech.
Well, this is one of those fortuitous, look out your front door and see what's going on. So knowing the themes that are coming up makes it really handy when you got an opportunity like this. So appreciate the recognition.
Okay. Next would be Michael Davis, We Walked. Michael here, you're on the Zoom. Nope, okay. And then we have Eric Reeder, live fire training. All right.
Cool beans.
And then we'll do People's Choice. Okay, so we got 4.
4.
So bronze.
You're still on the, oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry.
We're good. Yeah, so Jerry Murphy.
Right.
There was a tie.
Yeah, there's a tie on this one. So we have a tie for silver. So first was Clay. And then second was We Walked by Michael. And then we have gold with Eric Reeder.
Cool. Pretty much agreed.
All right, move to intermediate. Let's see. All right. Okay, Sunset at Santa Marta. The Thrill. Green Heron Blue Hour Breakfast. Flying Through Water. Brushy Creek Heritage Trail. Fog in the Air. Soaring Above the Tempest. Brooding Clouds Over the Steamy Blue Lagoon. Chasm Falls and Rocky Mountain National Park. The Diehattan Project. And Rub-a-Dub-Dub. All right. First up is Sunset at Santa Marta.
This image shows water in 2 different forms, the water in the bay, or wherever it is, and the clouds. Overall, this is a very strong image. I like the dark moodiness of the clouds with the reflection of the sunset on the water below. There's also a nice gradient of colors behind, or if you want to call it behind the clouds, that further helps separate the elements in this image. I understand the desire to anchor the image with the shore below, but it's just too dark and without much detail, so I question if it adds anything. The reflection of the different textures of the water really helps strengthen the feeling that this image exudes. Well done.
Okay, next up, The Thrill.
The thrill of boating very close to Niagara Falls. Must be exhilarating. And very wet. So the image it is a very interesting image. And when we looked at it, we all came to the same agreement that to make it a more exhilarating and thrilling image, perhaps by cropping from the bottom and getting rid of the dark water, because it just kind of is there. I know there's lots of white, but because we have this dark negative space down there, it kind of draws the eye down to it. And it takes away from the overall concept of the thrill of this boat going through this rather choppy water. The other was to, we're getting rid of the bottom one, you get rid of most of it, of the issue. But then if you can crop in closer to the boat and put it to the left-hand side, which it kind of is, then you get more of a motion of which way this boat is actually trying to go. So otherwise, it was, it's a very nice image, and you can begin to feel the spray of the water in your face and the whole bit. So yeah, so that's about it.
Okay. Green heron, blue hour breakfast.
So this is another image emphasizing the fabulous Texas waterways with the color green. This is kind of unfortunate. Now, this is super image. Composition is beautiful. I think the reflection is especially nice. I think the strong points include the ripple of the water from where the fish was grabbed, and the frozen droplets in midair above the heron's head. And he's got the fish firmly by the beak, which is just fantastic. We know what's going to happen here, so the story is very clear. It's a green heron as opposed to blue. Green herons are somewhat green, but obviously have other colors. So I think those are beautifully represented. I think the light has been treated very, very well. We didn't have, I think, a lot of complaints about it. I don't know that you need quite that much space at the top necessarily, but that's a choice, and that's fine. But the triangle formed by the body, the reflection, and the ripples is terrific. It keeps moving around, stays within the image, and it's very understandable what's happening, what the maker wanted us to look at.
Okay. Flying through water.
I'm always a sucker for a good wildlife action shot. There's certainly some good action happening here, and the background is really good. But the camera focused on the splashing water and not the bird. I don't mind the clipped wings, but the missing feet and whatever may or may not be in this hawk's talons gives me some pause for concern. The other thing is that the tight crop, this poor bird has no room to fly into, so I give this type of photography myself and suspect that the bird was too close since it was shot at approximately 700 millimeters.
Okay. Brushy Creek Heritage Trail.
Dark and moody. I like dark and moody. This was, again, coming across on the screen that we're looking at the moment is extremely dark. I like the general feel. When we looked at it and looked at it, we came up with some ideas and concepts and thoughts on how to maybe make it even more impressive as an image. There were two different croppings that were suggested. One was to crop in closer at the bottom of the falls to the little brown dark log, twig, branch, whatever you want to call that. Kind of moving in pretty tight on that, basically getting rid of the foliage and the branches and everything else on the left-hand side of the image. They seem to be more of a distraction than they are helping the image. The other cropping was to include the falls and then zoom in, crop into, there's a limb that's hanging out over the creek on the background. There's a whole, it looks like an inverted L, if you will, or a very elongated L if you're looking the other direction. That in itself was a pretty interesting image to look at, whereas the overall image with all of its woods and trees and what have you distracted slightly from this whole thing. I'm not sure if the maker made it this dark. We did play with the exposure a little bit and came to the conclusion that maybe this is underexposed underexposed only in the processing, post-processing by 1.5, 2 stops. But I'm not sure that we would have gotten this moody feeling out of it if it had been brighter. So, nice work. Just give it some more massaging and see what you can come up with regards to cropping.
Okay. Fog in the air.
So I like fog. I think fog is great, and I wish we had more of it here in this state or this area to shoot in. This obviously, well, I'm guessing this is not a Texas shot. Probably more of a southeast or so. But it's a beautiful image. The fog works really well. The amount of fog I think works very, very well here with the composition. Bringing the back down instead of making it darker, it's just less distinct. The layers in this composition are terrific. We've got a boardwalk pier, whatever you call it. We've got the one farther back, and then you've got the trees on the far bank in the back. Color in the foliage is fantastic. The reflection's great. It's not clear to me that we had some discussion about this. It's not clear that the space on the left is necessary. It's not clear that the foliage on the right is necessarily necessary. So it's I'm not sure this is the optimal crop for this image, but I think there's a lot of really great material here. I would encourage the maker to play with it a little bit more, but a beautifully seen moment, and it's a very strong image.
Okay. Next is Soaring Above the Tempest.
What a wonderful dynamic image this is. This image doesn't need the bird to complete it, but it sure adds a very nice element to the story. There's a lot of action in the water with the frozen waves lapping at the cliff. The fog at the top really adds moodiness and mystery. I really like the transitions of view in the fog from left to right as well as up and down, and the range of blacks in the cliff combined with the texture of the rocks really elevates the level of this image. The only suggestion might be to crop a little off the top, just like getting a haircut, so as to reduce some dead space and help move the bird up a little higher into the frame. Otherwise, fantastic effort, and I really like the result.
Okay. Brooding clouds over the steamy blue lagoon.
Okay, I'm jealous. I want to go to Iceland. And all I keep on seeing is pictures of places in Iceland that I need to go. So, I'll try to be nice. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I've heard of this. I've seen pictures of the Blue Lagoon, and got to make it there one of these days. So, blue we got. We have lots and lots of blue in this. Cropping, I would suggest that the crop on this one could be enhanced. You've got, first off, the basic horizon, which are the hills in the background, are pretty much, well, they are a little bit to the high side, but there's a lot of dead space at the bottom. You could have taken the crop on the bottom all the way up to where the people are starting to congregate, basically at that stone that's surrounded by the gray material. I'm not sure if that's concrete or not, but crop that out the bottom, and the building is there, but the building is really not adding to this image at all. The clouds are the image, in my opinion. The clouds, the background, and if you want to call it reflection, in the water, because the water that does reflect what's there. I think cropping in tighter would have been a better thing for this. We had a discussion, we weren't sure that the swim up bar was actually necessary, but well, if you wanted a drink, you had to have the swim-up bar, you know, so. But that's basically where we are on that one. It's the cropping on the bottom on the left-hand side, for sure.
Okay. Next is Chasm Falls and Rocky Mountain National Park.
Okay, I need to go to the Google to figure out where this is. This is the fun spot. In this particular case, I feel like I'm missing something at the bottom with this image. There's a pool down there. I want to see more of the pool. I think the shutter speed is terrific. I'm a sucker for silky water, so I'm a fan. I like the colors in the rocks. I think they're very honest, and I think they're very interesting. But I don't know that there's enough space around the falls for the context I think I want. I did not go searching the Google to see other shots of this particular location because I didn't want to be influenced by them. I'd rather have my thoughts focused on what I see in front of me. It lacks a certain dynamic context with the rocks in the water. The tones are they're all about the same luminosity. I think some work could be done to tone the rocks down to bring the water forward, give me some separation between those two things. Everything's just basically the same amount of bright. And again, like I said, at the bottom, I want more of the bottom. So give me, I want to feel like I'm there. This doesn't make me feel like I'm there. And I wasn't there, so I can't say what more could be done. I can only work with what I've got presented here. So lots of good stuff here, but I don't know that it's as successful as it could be with some work.
Okay. The Dye-Hatton Project.
Well, I applaud the baker for attempting this because it's not something that's necessarily very easy, but I also have the impression that this was something that may have been rushed. The dye in the water projects very little the dye in the water projects have very fine lines between great and not so much. It seems to me that this is just a bit too close up or busy. The blue is just too strong and overwhelming. The orange was possibly not needed, but a good attempt at providing some contrast. If the blue is softer and more dilute, it would make the image lighter and more fun. The inverted image was a good idea as well, but the heaviness at the top just takes over. I certainly say to the maker to keep trying on this concept as it has a lot of merit in its potential.
And Rub-a-Dub-Dub.
Okay, it's a nice action shot, and with the backlighting or side lighting that it has, it enhances all the splashing, the water droplets, all of that kind of thing. We kind of looked at it and we were a little confused. I'm kind of confused. There's a bump behind the head. I'm not sure if those are ruffled feathers or if it's a puffy neck. That's just me asking questions. But I think the beak could have been possibly brought down a little bit, toned down, because when I looked at it on my computer, it almost looked, it was way too shiny, almost plastic. But the real kicker to all of it is that there's no discernible focus point throughout the entire image. Maybe it's in the foreground, but I'm not really sure. So it's a nice, I mean, I can't say that I've ever shot one, a duck doing this much movement. It's a great attempt at doing it. Keep up the work, and hopefully we'll see another one that's actually, that actually instills some wonderment about it. So this one is not there. Sorry.
Okay. That's it. So we'll go to the judge's choice. 3 images. So first we have Roberto White, Fog in the Air. Nope. All right. Second, Soaring Above the Tempest. This is mine.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is in the Faroe Islands. So I went on a trip back in January, and it rained and was like horrible weather the entire time. And I was like 3 days delayed because flights were horrible because we had ice storms here, and it was like the worst thing ever. But it was pretty so it was really hard to go find like really great images. And so we ended up, this was after like, we hiked probably like an hour in just mud and wind, and it was like, yeah. But anyway, we get there and then it's like you get scenes like this and it's really cool. So it was kind of fun because you had to work with like not great light, nothing but foggy, really moody scenes or whatever. And so I really like this one. And like we were here and shooting it, and it's like a big lake that's feeding a river that's flowing in. So it's this amazing scene. But then yeah, these birds are soaring around. So I was like, oh, this is great. So now I'm gonna like try to really crank up the ISO and get a fast shutter speed to capture the bird. And this is the only one I got of a bird that was like perfect. Everything else just didn't work. So anyway, so that was the shot. So. This was with my 16 to 55 on a crop sensor. Yeah, so we were kind of down low, and yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, because you hike in, and you could kind of get up high, and then there was all these rocks, and so I think this one I came down a little bit lower for it, and then yeah, huh? Yeah. 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 So okay, thank you.
Cool.
All right, and then next would be Larry Faeo.
Well, much like Cody, I suffered from the same problem shooting this. I went to get some good first early morning shots, and this ended up being shot at ISO of 12,800. It never broke, the sun never broke, the clouds got thicker and thicker, fog moved in, which you can't see in the picture. So I was happy to get what I got, and I encourage people to go and shoot no matter what the weather, just like in the beginning with baseball, practice, 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 no matter what the weather. You never know what you're going to come out with.
Yep. Cool. All right. Go to People's Choice. All right, 3 images. So bronze, mine. All right, silver is The Thrill by Shelton.
No Shelton. No Shelton.
All right, and then gold is Mark, Brushy Creek Carry. Not here. Okay. All right, we'll move on to advanced.
It looks like we got more in chat. Is that a 4 now?
Yeah, there's 4. Is there?
Yeah, but, not one.
Is there the chat though? Anything that needs to be?
That might be asking like the price thing.
That's your microphone's not on.
Let's start the quick scan through the images. All right, we got 9. All right, let's see. Sunrise ritual baths on the Ganges. Bottled water. Watercolors. Inside looking out. On some unnamed canal. Snow. Echoes. Blue ice. And it was a dark and dreary ... Okay. Critiques. All right, sunrise ritual bath on the Ganges.
Thanks. So I'm going to repeat some of the comments I wrote down in the software. There's a lot of really interesting things about this image. The positions of the two people, the fact that the person on the left has a reflection, the person on the right does not, the stillness of the figure on the left, the motion around the figure on the right, the water, tiny waves, ripples. On a better monitor, you can see color. There's more orange on the right-hand side, very blue-green on the left-hand side. So the dichotomy within this image is very interesting. It breaks the odd number of things rule, so, which is not a rule, I know. I'm just saying that it's two things, and for me, the way the composition sits, it's a very bifurcated image. We've either got the left or the right, and there's a lot of space at the top that is not particularly interesting to my eye. I don't know that I think it's a strong image because of the bifurcation. I don't know that I think that what's presented in the image tells me the story that the title implies. I think that I would be more interested in one image or one figure or the other. But that's a choice. I wasn't there. I'm not making that choice. Again, I'm working with what I have in front of me. I just don't know that the story is real clear here. So there's a lot of interesting elements, a lot of strong elements in the image. I just don't know if I'm sold on what I think was the maker's intent.
Okay. Bottled water.
At first, I was really liking this image. I was really enamored by the texture and the sand in the foreground. It is very finely detailed with a lot of different patterns. The out-of-focus sunset and reflection in the background are really captivating and make a nice line from the foreground reflections through the bottle to the sun. Then I realized that the bottle, which I'm figuring is the subject and the point of focus, isn't in focus at all. I really could sacrifice the foreground detail for a super sharp water bottle. I also feel that the cropping is just a bit too tight, and a little more space on both sides of the bottle would actually help, as would about half of the space above the sun. Other than that, an excellent idea and an effort.
Okay. Watercolors.
So when I first saw this picture, I didn't dissect it to the point of looking at the bottom. It turns out it's a reflection. It's not a treatment in Photoshop to make it a watercolor. But if it was, that's an interesting concept of water in all its forms as a watercolor, okay? So moving on from that, I looked at this and it's a very interesting image in that it is, yes, this singular tree reflecting in the water, but the balance of the little bit of clouds in the upper right to the light area to the left, and then you've got the light area to the left balancing with the light area on the right. It just, to me, it worked. It's a really interesting image in that sense. The colors are wonderful, maybe not on this monitor, but the colors are wonderful throughout it. It's a very interesting image, and kudos to the maker.
Okay, inside looking out.
Okay, this is a very interesting composition. I think there's some elements here, I find there's some elements here that compete with one another and take away from the success of the image. For me, my greatest shortcoming is the sun sitting where it is. It's bright, I keep looking at it, and I don't think that's what the maker wanted me to look at. I feel like the maker wanted me to look at the waterfall, which we believe is in Iceland. It would have been, I would have suggested to work the scene, put the sun behind the waterfall, make sure the exposure prevents any blowouts. The rays, the flare on the sun is very distracting for me. Those colors just don't belong there. The cave, we're inside a cave, obviously. The cave has detail. I probably could use a little bit more. That's a choice, and I get that. From a compositional perspective, the waterfall is very clear, but when you start looking at the layers of the image, you've got the sky back there, you've got the pool, the waterfall's hitting in front. But when you get to the middle ground, it's hard to tell where the cave ends and those hills begin. So that's a little confusing for my eye. And we keep harping on this. This image is not level. That waterfall is not straight up and down, and that road on the hill to the right, that's not supposed to be level. That's supposed to be at an angle. So I would challenge that this is oriented correctly. I could be wrong, but my eye says it's not. Yeah, so great ideas. It's the kind of scene, hopefully you had time while there to really work it well and explore lots of ideas.
Okay, on some unnamed canal.
I didn't have that one.
That's me.
Is it you?
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah. At first, because I like doing panoramas, at first I thought this was just a really strange panorama. It turns out when you look at the building on the other side of the bridge, that you're looking at the corner of the bridge, or corner of the building, therefore this is a canal that actually does a kind of a right-hand or left-hand turn, depending on which way you want to go in it. So it still is an interesting composition. So when I started looking at it a little bit more, I really got into straight cropping, get the buildings, vertical. I guess that's just my technical side. I don't know. But we came up, as the three of us were looking at it, we came up with probably 2 or 3 images out of this. The first one is basically cropping somewhere along the bridge. I don't know exactly where. Maybe it's all the way at the sidewalk. But there's an image all the way down the left-hand side of that, with the canal going off into what looks to be infinity. So that's kind of one image. Another one would be the other side of the frame, where you do have the person walking down that, coming off the bridge. And so there's another image there. So we're kind of like, it's interesting. Maybe it could have been more interesting by changing the cropping on this a little bit. Colors are wonderful. Believe it was shot on somebody's smartphone. So I'm not sure if it was pulled out as raw or if it was a JPEG. I'm wondering if there's more color in the sky. So little things like that. It's an interest. Hey, I wasn't there, so I can't really argue too much about it. But interesting image. Thank you.
Okay, Snow.
With so many excellent images, there were a few in each level that really stood out. This was one of them, as it was one of the few that made my first cut for the advanced group. After my second look through the images, it became my favorite for this level. The crop is spot on and frames the action perfectly. There's just enough texture to keep you engaged with very nice shadowing. The use of light is well done. A lot of very white, bright subject matter becomes truly personal. And I respect the idea of and feeling presented here by the maker because I can feel what they were going for. I could go on and leave it there for the maker to elaborate on.
Okay, echoes.
Why didn't it look that good on my screen? Okay. That was one of on my computer, on my screen, this ended up being a little more flat than it is on this screen right here. And maybe that's what I was looking for. The concept of the echoes, this could have been multiple exposure in camera. I'm assuming it was because all the rocks and the horizon are all level. I mean, they're all the same. There's no shadowing in those. but the spray coming off the waves and the crashing against the stone out there, I get the echoes. It makes perfect sense. But when I saw it on my computer, it wasn't this kind of contrast that I'm seeing here in front of me right now. So, and that was my only drawback to it. I think the concept is there. I would love to see this concept in more images, not necessarily seaside like this, but maybe there are other images that would fit this kind of a concept. So, that's it.
Okay. Blue ice.
Okay, so this one's mine. So I added some stuff, obviously, to the critique. So, Antarctica, awesome. I'm assuming Antarctica. Great stuff here. Some things I find distracting here. One of which is the white, the snow on the ice. It's just really stinking bright, and it's unfortunate. So it keeps attracting my eye, and I don't want to look at it, but I do. Strong elements include the reflection in the water, especially the large block on the left, and even the white down there, and then the lower piece on the right, you've got a nice reflection there. I think some work to bring out those reflections would have made it a little bit more interesting in this particular image. The sky is gorgeous. And that orange on the horizon on the right is fantastic. I would like to have seen that emphasized because that gives you the whole orange blue thing in the image, or the complementary colors, which I think would help push the idea of the image. It bothers me that thing is cut off on the left. It's unfortunate. So this is an example of shoot with margin, and you can always crop it later. Maybe it was a crop, I don't know, but for me it's bothersome. So I'll probably stop there. So lots of really cool stuff here. And I know you're on a boat and you're doing the best you can with what you've got. I've not been in that situation, and I know it's extremely challenging. So lots of cool stuff though, and I think a little bit more post, I think could really pop this up a little bit more for me.
Okay. It was a dark and dreary ...
Go ahead. Okay. So things got out of order with our images for some reason, so I'm going to talk again. So dark and dreary. It was a dark and dreary. Yay fog again. Super. Strong elements include the glow of the lights in here in different colors, the red on the right, the orange in the left and middle. The moisture on the pavement, ground, whatever, gives us that beautiful reflection of that light, that lamppost down there, as well as the ones on the left, and then the red over on the right. So lots of really great stuff. It's a city scene. There are some signs I could live without. But there's not much you can do about that. But the shapes of the building, and then the street lights, the poles of the street lights, the trees, these vertical elements, as well as the windows in the building, is all very, very nice. And yet still this drawing you in, and then the fog helping you kind of lose yourself in the background, I think is really cool. So lots of wonderful elements here. So I think we felt it was a good, strong image and well seen.
Good.
I think that's what we decided.
Yeah, something like that.
Go to judge's choice. All right, we got 3. So in third place, we have Ty with watercolors.
So this was at Los Maples, and the clouds that you see up in the top are actually moss on the bottom of the pond. It's very clear water, and so there were no clouds. It's looking through the water there, but then I turned it over, and it did look like a watercolor painting to me.
All right, in second, we got Patrick with It Was Dark and Dreary.
So this was a few weeks ago when we had dark and dreary weather coming in the evening, lots of fog, turned into rain later on. Yeah, this was it's taken with a wide angle lens. The scene just popped up and I had to grab it real quick. There were a couple of things, there's a lot more to it. As Gary has mentioned, shoot wide or with extra margin and crop down. And so that's what I did on this. There's lots more to this image that was very distracting. So, but that's, yeah, that was it.
Okay, cool. And then in first, we have Bill with Snow.
I learned a lot to shoot in the snow like this. And actually, this is a case where when you shoot landscape, you take your wide lenses, but you take a long lens too. Because this, I think, was out near 300 millimeters. It was picking out little pieces of the scene in a huge field of snow. And the other thing you have to watch in shooting in the snow is your histogram is going to be way to the right. Everything's going to be to the right because it's so white and there's just nothing but shadows and white.
All right. Then we can go to People's Choice. Okay. So in bronze, we have Gary with Echoes.
So also from Japan. I am really glad I didn't enter my version of his shot. I don't think it was as strong in retrospect. So I'm glad Bill came out ahead. Yeah, this is a coastal scene. It is a multiple exposure in camera. And yeah, just different waves taken at different times and trying to get things to kind of be a little less concrete, a little more ethereal. Lots of fun though, lots of fun.
Cool. Next, we've got Nick Grossman with Blue Ice. And silver.
No, Nick.
Nope. And then gold, we have Bill with Snow. All right, that's it.
That's okay.
Oh, judges. Yeah, we need judges for the next competition. So I'll be reaching out for that one. So.
A little bit more information. If Ed hasn't done it yet, he will do it shortly, is update the website with constraints and motivations for the remaining themed competitions. The other thing that has happened in competition is that the entry date has been moved forward so you can enter all the competitions now. So you can go ahead and drop in an image. If you decide you don't like it, you've got until the entry deadline to replace it. So it's a case to be sure you have an entry in for everything and then choose your best that you shot 2 days before competition closed. Anything else? Clay?
We had some new members, that's all I have to say.
Cool.
Keep telling your friends to invite them to meetings.
All right, guys, that does it. Have a good evening.